Sup? Hi. How's it going? Hi. My name is Taco. Welcome to Something to Talk About. And we're going to talk about Joffrey Dogget. That's our something. This is my A Song of Ice and Fire series. If you've never watched this before, this is where I scream at the camera way too loud and I talk about a character from the Song of Ice and Fire, the Game of Thrones lore. This isn't from the Joffrey Dogget is not a member or a character from the main series. He's actually from the history book, The Fire and Blood. A little before when House of the Dragon takes place. He's a little before that. He's during the reign of Maegor the Cruel is where his story starts. But yeah, so I'm going a little further back. I've been hanging out in the main series too long. It was time to go back and do a character. I thought I covered this guy like right away. He was in the contention of like the first three I wanted to cover. It was like Flemeth Brax, Guy Lawson, and Joffrey Dogget. I wanted to cover them right away. For some reason, Joffrey fell through the cracks, and I didn't. I love this guy. He sticks out every time I listen to Fire and Blood. I need a hobby, a different hobby. Holy crap. So if you've never been here before, I don't do any editing. I rant and rave. I do have these cards that kind of keep me in track a little bit. And yeah, very low tech, very anarchistic around here. And yeah, if you like it, stay. Click subscribe. Let's get that subscriber up. Just reached 300. It was awesome. And yeah, like and comment. I if you comment, I'll comment back. All right. That's 2 minutes of rambling. Let's get right into Joffrey Dogget. Not that Joffrey. Not King Joffrey. This is way before. It was way before. This is King Maegor. This is the third king. All right. The Red Dog. Joffrey Dogget, known as the Red Dog of the Hills. Man, how do you get a moniker like that? Like, that's a handle. Like, if I was hanging out with somebody and I'm like, oh, how's it going? I'm Taco. They're like, oh, cool. I'm the Mad Dog of the Hills. Jeez. Well, what's up? He was a knight of House Doggett during the reign of Maegor the Cruel and a member of the Lannisport chapter of the Warrior Sons. Who are the Warrior Sons? Who's House Doggett? You got so many questions. I'll answer them right now. House Doggett and the Warrior Sons. House Doggett is a noble house from the Westerlands. That's your answer. Ain't too much about them. They're a rather small house. They got a cool sigil, though, the unicorn and the raven. I like it. The noble and puissant order of the Warrior Sons is an order of Westerosi knights sworn to the faith of the Seven. They are part of the faith militant and are known as the Swords, and their counterparts are known as the Stars, also called the Poor Fellows. I gotta get that. I'm tongue-tied already. Called. So the faith militant is all of the fighters, warriors, if you will, that are loyal to the faith. They're not loyal to a house or loyal to a king or a lord or anything like that. Just the faith of the Seven. So they more take their orders from the High Septum and other septums, right? So it is split. There are the Poor Fellows, and then there are the Warrior Sons. The Warrior Sons are a lot more knighty, right? Like, they're not just Poor Fellows are going to be walking around like no armor, just wearing like burlap sacks with axes, right? And or mauls and maces. But the Warrior Sons are a lot more gallant. That's what I've taken out of it. So the Warrior Sons obey and answer the High Septum, and they believe the High Septum speaks for the Seven. He's the Pope, okay? He's the Song of Ice and Pope Fire. So let's get into his story now that I've answered the who's Doggett, who's House Doggett. They're around. They're in the Westerlands. Nothing. Who are the Warrior Sons? They're BA Knights for the Seven. So let's talk more about Joffrey himself. So the Faith Militant Uprising. Joffrey's father, mother, and younger sister, who all burned alive when King Maegor descended upon the seat of House Doggett with Balerion. Yeah, that's kind of why he's mad. You want to know why Joffrey Dogget doesn't really like Maegor the Cruel or Targaryens and just kind of hates the whole royalty? Well, it's because the king rode a giant dragon and murdered his family for pretty much no reason. Yeah. In 43 AC, during the Faith militant uprising, Joffrey was chosen as the new captain of the Warrior Sons to replace the late Sir Daemon Morgan, who was determined to restore the order to its faith or its former glory, and rode with 100 men to seek a blessing of the High Septim. By the time he arrived at Old Town, he had amassed 2,000 followers of Night Squires and Free Riders. So there was the right after Maegor came to power, he fought against. He did a trial of the Seven, right, against like a lot of really important warrior sons, and so there was kind of a lot of their more powerful guys, more important guys died that day. And then also he just straight up fights them. So we're kind of running out of people. He, now losing his family, decides he's just going to take 100 people and go to the High Septim, who's in Old Town. And by the time he gets there, he has 2,000 strong people who are just joining him left and right. So Joffrey Doggett's kind of like the second kind of wave, if you will, of faith militant who are uprising against Maegor, because Maegor kind of defeats him a little, mostly, and then he hangs out, gets a bunch of black brides, does some Maegor the Cruel stuff, kills people for no reason. You know, Maegor. There's a lot of Maegor the Cruel wasn't actually cruel theories. I love them. I mean, yeah, why not? Written by the winners, right? He was probably a really chill dude. Maybe all those people, like, you know, deserve to die who he killed, or maybe they were killed by other people and they just blame Maegor. You don't know. I don't believe that. All right. So he is like kind of getting a big army together to kind of fight against them. So the Warrior Sons and Outlaws by 43. So this is a year later. 43 AC, that's after Conquest, the Warrior Sons were outlawed and no longer had strength to defy the Iron Throne in open battle. So the Red Dog sent them out disguised as hedge knights. So he can't just get an army and go march at the capital to fight Maegor, because they are now outlawed. So they're not allowed to be supported. Like, houses can't support them. They are no longer allowed to be open. So instead, he kind of does like a guerrilla tactic. So he's pretty much in charge of them right now at this point. So he sends them out disguised as hedge knights to hunt down and kill Targaryen loyalists, the quote traitors of the faith. Former warrior sons, Sir Morgan Hightower, old Lord of Merryweather, Lord Peak's son, Sir Davos Darkland's aged father, and a blind John Hogg were all killed by Doggett's followers. And just a bunch of dudes, right? A bunch of high lords and other people. So they're getting some big names. So they're actually causing a problem, murdering Targaryen loyalists. By late 53 or 55, late 45 AC, so not yet another year, Joffrey ruled the hill country north of the Golden Tooth in all but name. So that's like half of the Westerlands. He's like, he's kind of getting up there in all but name, because of course he's not a lord. They can't say he rules anything. But if you want to get anything done, you go through Joffrey. By late 45, I already said that. Septim Moon and Joffrey led the poor fellows against the king in 48 AC. So he doesn't stop fighting. So let's get to the next step. So Joffrey survived the war against Maegor the Cruel. Given safe conduct, he journeyed to Old Town with Lord Pentrese Tully, so Lord Tully and his lady wife, Lucinda, great name, Broom, to meet the new king, the new young king, Jaehaerys. So Maegor's dead, right? So Jaehaerys has to decide. He's a young guy, young lad at this point. He's not the old king yet. And he has to decide how he's going to handle this whole faith militant thing. So is he going to be like Maegor? Is he going to stop? Is he going to be like his dad and kind of let them raise power and pretty much have enough power to overthrow them again or try to overthrow them? He has to find a way to stop them without making them angry, or to provoke another war, or just try to kill them all at once. So you're trying to, at this point in the history, it's like, what is Jaehaerys going to do? How is he going to handle Septim Moon, who is definitely preaching anti-Targaryen stuff, and Joffrey Dogget, who's been pretty much in charge of this underground movement, getting people like High Lords killed. So he's got a juggling act, Jaehaerys does, Joffrey, who had come to, so King Jaehaerys had come to Old Town to receive the High Septim's blessing. That's something that kings always do back in the day. They need to get ordained by the High Septim, aka like the Pope. The Red Dog was received courteously by the king, and he asked the law forbidding, or he asked that the laws forbidding the faith militant be undone. Joffrey refused. So, yeah, Joffrey goes and talks to the king. The first thing he goes is like, let us not be outlaws anymore. Like, lift the laws on the faith militant, essentially. Which, not going to happen. Only Cersei's at them. Jaehaerys refused, but asked Doggett instead to serve in his Kingsguard. So he goes, hey, how about instead of you doing faith militant stuff, why don't you come over and work over here? You can be a Kingsguard member. So Joffrey takes out his sword. Grand Maester Bennifer, who was present, feared Joffrey might intend to harm Jaehaerys. Instead, he places a sword at the king's feet with tears in his eyes and accepts the offer. Boom! This was like a really huge, smart play on Jaehaerys' part, where he pretty much cuts the head off of this possible rebellion and gets the head be one of his sworn Kingsguard. And I mean, he could just make him like watch the bathroom the rest of, like he's like, cool, I own you now. But it also is like, all right, you're recognizing that I'm a powerful, great warrior, and he's showing mercy. He's not lifting the laws up, but he is showing mercy. And that's exactly like Doggett's like, all right, this king I can follow. Here's my sword. Great moment. Yeah. So what's that? So then you have the war for the White Cloaks. So there's only 2 Kingsguards right now. So there's one that was left from Maegor's time. And so he only has 1 Kingsguard. You need 7. Young Jaehaerys has nothing yet. Like, he just became king, right? Maegor just died. So he has Doggett, so he's got 2. You need 5 more. Hence, the war for the White Cloaks. One of my favorite moments in the histories. Joffrey guarded King Jaehaerys during the Golden Wedding. That's where his Hand of the King, Baratheon, Rogar Baratheon, I don't have it written down, so it's all up here, marries his mom. So it's kind of like his mom's their regent, so also ruling, and then the Hand of the King's mostly ruling too, and they're marrying, kind of forming this strong alliance. And Jaehaerys is just kind of like a 14-year-old kid right now, right? So during the wedding, Joffrey's watching for him, where it is announced that the remaining 5 slots of the Kingsguard were to be filled in the melees that became known as the War for the White Cloaks. So somebody goes, well, why don't we name the winners of the joust? And he's like, I don't remember the last time a king was attacked by a guy on horseback with a lance. Like, they got to fight in the melee. So he's like, top 5 winners of the melees, we'll make them a White Cloak. So it became a really big deal. One of the 5 victors, a young man named Sir Pate the Woodcock, was accused by some of not truly being a knight. But such was the lad's skill that Joffrey personally knighted Pate and the accused to end the accusation. So the guy's like, no, I'm a knight. And they're like, no, you're not. Pete the Woodcock. You're not a knight. The Woodcock. Never heard of House the Woodcock. And then Joffrey's like, fine, I'll shut all you guys up. Here, you're knighted. Shut up. Yeah, Joffrey's awesome like that. Hundreds of onlookers cheered, and Pate was given a white cloak of the King's Guard. So yeah, just Joffrey kind of being just a solid dude, and a lot of his story from here does kind of follow, and he was there for a lot of Jaehaerys' stuff, right? So I do, yeah, a lot of it's kind of like, there's a bunch of stuff that happened with King Jaehaerys, and also Joffrey Dogget helped this way. But yeah, the young King's Man, when Princess Alysanne Targaryen, good Queen Alysanne, when she was really young, discovered her betrothal plans, she informed Jaehaerys. So these guys were not married yet, brother and sister, really young. I think she's like 12 at this point. And the Hand of the King and the Queen Regent are trying to marry her off, because royal kids are political pawns, right? Like, oh, we want the blah, blah, blahs to be allied to us. We have a daughter. Yeah, it's messed up. All right. She informs Joffrey, who acts immediately, and ordered Sir Giles Morgan, the Lord Commander of the King's Guard, to discreetly travel to Dragonstone under the cover of darkness with the rest of the White Cloaks. So all of the White Cloaks. Jaehaerys and Alysanne later flew to the island on Dragonback. On Dragonstone, Doggett and the King's Guard stood witness as Jaehaerys and Alysanne get married, with Septim Oswick performing the ceremony. When Lord Rhaegar Baratheon, I did guess the name right, and Queen Regent Alysanne Velaryon arrived and tried to take the royal children back, Joffrey and his sworn brothers defied the king's hand by forming a wall in front of the king and queen. So they're like, hey, you guys can't get married. That's going to get a lot of people mad. You have to come back with us. The marriage doesn't count. Come on. And then the king's guards are like, yeah, no. And they just stand in front of him. It's like, we're just going to do what he wants. And that's when one of my favorite scenes ever happens. So when Rhaegar declared the King's Guard need to obey him since he was a hand, they inform him that they are not the Hand's Guard. And also inform Rhaegar that he would be the first to die if the men are attacked. So yeah, so Rhaegar was like, get out of the way, I'm the Hand. And they're like, yeah, we're not the Hand's Guard, we're the King's Guard. And that's the king. And then he says something like, I got 20 goodmen, Sir 20 goodmen. I got 20 goodmen here, and there's 7 of you. We're going to kill all of you. Get out of my way. And he goes, I think, yeah, and Joffrey, I think, is the one who says, like, okay, we might all die, but you're dying first. Like, I'll make sure you're dead right away. Like, go ahead, kill us all. But you're sacrificing your life for this move. And Rhaegar's like, dang it. So, yeah. The king and queen's defender. During King Jaehaerys' minority on Dragonstone, Joffrey and his sworn brothers sparred with the young king, who spent every morning until midday in the castle training with the sword. Yeah, Jaehaerys was actually a pretty good warrior. A lot of people just talk about how an old king and the conciliator and how great he was at all that stuff. He was actually a pretty good warrior. Yeah. During the king's reign, so this is after he's no longer in his minority and actually gets to take the reign. During the king's reign, Joffrey was present during the attack on good Queen Alysanne at Maidenpool and killed her attackers. He also traveled with Jonquil Dark and the king and queen to Old Town on Dragonback. I do have a video of Jonquil Dark. So she's like good Queen Alysanne's maiden guard. Joffrey's like kind of the favorite of Jaehaerys, at least in his early times. So yeah, if you want to get the other side of a lot of this, check out my Jonquil Dark story or video. It's an oldie but a goodie. During the harsh winter of 59 AC and the ensuing plague of the shivers, so that was like a plague, a sickness, the shivers, killed a lot of people. Joffrey rode out with King Jaehaerys and the rest of his escort when the news that the Master of Coin, Lord Rhaego Draz, has been brutally murdered. If you want me to cover Rhaego Draz, I would. No one's asked me yet, but I might cover Rhaego Draz. I've been really covering a lot of the main books lately, so if you want me to go back and cover a lot of these characters from the histories, let me know. So Rhaego Draz was Master of Coin, and he was a foreigner, and there was a lot of kind of tension in the streets because of this plague, and a lot of people were blaming foreigners because, you know, this is realistic. That's what happens, right? Whenever there's a pandemic, people are like, idiots blame foreigners, right? So Rhaego Draz gets murdered really viciously in the streets. So when that happens, the king himself rides out like, all right, let's take care of who did this. So, King Jaehaerys, had been brutally murdered. King Jaehaerys was enraged at the sight of Lord Rhaego's mutilated corpse. When he saw the king's face, Joffrey thought for a moment he was looking at the face of Maegor the Cruel. The men responsible for the murder were later caught and hanged from the walls of the Red Keep with their entrails dangling out. He goes hardcore. He goes a little Maegorish, if you will. So Joffrey was there for it, like, kind of scary. He's like, all right, I'll calm down. Let's just hang them with their entrails dangling out. Okay. So there you go. That's all I got for Joffrey Dogget. I don't have a lot of theories or connections or predictions or anything. He's just a really solid, awesome character. His later half, he's just a white cloak, but his start is so cool of being like the whole leader of this other wave of warrior sons, just to like drop his sword and be one of the best Kingsguard members ever. If I did a list of my top 10 Kingsguard like members, not just Lord Commanders, but like members, he would be in it. Like top 3 probably. Like right behind, honestly, he'd be like right behind Barristan the Bold and Arthur Dayne. He's like right there. I love Joffrey Dogget. Super underrated. But yeah, there you guys go. Talked for 23 minutes. I can get out of here. And that was my Joffrey Dogget, not red. Joffrey Dogget video. Please check out the rest. I'm splitting this up and doing 2 videos a week instead of on Friday and Saturday. I'm doing them Tuesday and then Saturday morning. So this will be coming out next Tuesday, or this Tuesday. Today this came out on a Tuesday. But yeah, there we go. Now I'm going to talk for 24 minutes. Check out the rest of my stuff. There's a playlist. There's videos popping up all over. If you're new here, subscribe. Tell me what you thought. Yes. Let's go. And I got nothing for this. Let's go and get some tacos. Something to eat. I'm hungry. You hungry?